The 100 years of Alenia Aermacchi represent the history of the Italian aeronautical industry. Airliners, many of which fly with an important content of Alenia Aermacchi technologies and structures, move millions of people every day. Nations find their first defense and security in the sky. Just as in any emergency, it is to the sky that we look for rescue.
Per la prima volta nella storia, una singolare macchina alata si solleva da terra. Vola per 12 secondi a 3 metri di quota.
In 1912, the airplane was still looking for its identity and, more importantly, for practical use. Italy was a pioneer of the military use of airplanes. However, their lack of pilots meant that only half of the 60 models built actually took to the skies.
Siamo nei reparti lavorazione a macchina. È qui che nascono e vengono modellati per mezzo delle più accurate ritratture i innumerevoli pezzi che comporranno il motore e nei quali la differenza da pezzo a pezzo non deve superare la frazione di minuto. A Venezia, Agello farà salire il proprio primato a chilometri 709 e 202. Primato per idrovolanti con propulsione ad elica, tuttora imbattuto. Il record mondiale di velocità passa nelle mani dell'aviazione italiana.
The first Italian air-to-air victory was scored by Francesco Baracca on 7th of April 1916 on a Newport 11. His prancing horse insignia, which would turn into one of the most famous Italian trademarks, appeared for the first time on his Newport 17. Throughout World War II, 5,000 Macchi and Fiat fighters fought on all fronts, often holding their own in terms of quality, if not quantity. Licensed production of British and American jets allowed Italian industry to resume production. The Fiat G91, developed from these technologies in the mid-50s, went on to become the first Italian-made jet used by the Frecce Tricolori aerobatic team. With its exciting performance and innovative production organization, the F-104 was a truly revolutionary 1960s project which involved a considerable part of Italian industry. In Italy, the 104 formed the basis for the 1969 merger between Fiat and Airfare that led to Air Italia. The specialization in trainer planes was born with the industry itself. Flying schools were the first market for airplanes. In Turin, Varese and Naples, trainers allowed production to resume almost always with original projects. From this experience, the jet trainer MB326 was born, the undisputed leader in the sector for nearly 20 years. In 1976, the tradition was renewed with the Aermacchi MB339. Today, the MB339 equips the Italian Air Force Frecce Tricolori aerobatic team and the new United Arab Emirates Al Frazan team. Today, the Alenia Aermacchi M346 delivers the step change required to train pilots for new generation fighter jets, very different from their predecessors. Commissioned by prestigious international customers, the M346 is set to renew a unique tradition, further expanded by the ability to offer complete integrated training systems. After World War II, the world became smaller and long trips faster and more comfortable. The invention of gas turbines revolutionized air transport. New markets opened for airlines and aircraft manufacturers. The ATR regional turboprop was a great success. Fruit of a joint venture with French industry, it is now market leader with over 1,000 aircraft already delivered. 30 years later, the key role in the regional aircraft market expands with the Russian-Italian Sukhoi Superjet program, in which Alenia Aermacchi is in charge of worldwide support and sales in Western countries. The almost 15,000 commercial aircraft built with aerostructures provided by Alenia Aermacchi heritage companies are the latest chapter in the recent history of the company and an important part of its future. In 1970, the G222 became the first airplane to fly under the Air Italia name. The C-27J Spartan builds on the experience of over 100 G222s, adding new engines, avionics and systems, enabling even more significant performance. The Spartan shows Alenia Aermacchi capabilities and projects the success of the G222 on a global scale. Ten workers to build the first Newport Macchi monoplane. Today, 12,000 staff for the M346 trainer, the C-27J battlefield airlifter, the Typhoon multi-role fighter, the ATR regional turboprops. The person most surprised by the Alenia Aermacchi centennial would be Giulio Macchi himself, who, in founding the company, had set its life at 7 years, just long enough to understand whether airplanes would remain a short-term market opportunity or would become a long-term industrial business.